Namaskaram, ഞാൻ Eliza. Learn Malayalam with Elkutilekku Swagatham. If you're looking for a place to help you improve your Malayalam, you've come to the right channel. Today we are going to do a deep dive into the ISO transliteration. As you may have noticed in my recent slides and lesson plans in the last 6 months, I've shifted away from what people consider more common Manglish and have switched to a font that has some diacritics and different symbols, and as always with any new writing system or any new reading system, it's going to be a little confusing. So this video is going to set up why I've decided to use this, how it's used, and a quick reference for you in case you forget or you're not quite sure what these new diacritics mean. And when I say new, I mean it's new for the channel. ISO and other different types of transliteration formats are not new. These have been used for quite a while, and if you go look at reference pages like Wikipedia or other linguistic-based sources, you will see this transliteration. And also, I want to preface by saying I'm not trying to change the way that people communicate by text, online, or whatever. People do have their preferred way of communicating, but for learners, I feel it is a very important way to get the pronunciation correct early on and not have to go back and correct it later. So let's jump in. What is transliteration? It's when we have a script of one language, and in order to make it more accessible, we transcribe it through another script. So commonly in Malayalam, we call this Manglish, when you see someone texting Malayalam words using a Latin script. And here is an example. Namaskaram, ഞാൻ Eliza ആണ്. And you would probably see someone type something like this in Malayalam, in Manglish. But there's an issue with using this, especially for learners, and that there is a lot of inconsistencies, and there's a lot of sounds in Malayalam that don't exist in the Latin script. So then we get a bit confused when we're reading things in Manglish, and some people will type different words differently. So if we type out this word, okay, this first one we see it's spelled like this. Is it a nya or is it a ncha? The second one, is it mu or nu or n? The third one, are we saying are or are? The fourth one, are we saying kudi or kudi? The next one, palli or palli? The last one, panni or panni? So, of course, people can guess this from context, and Malayalis will understand each other. But for a new learner or for someone trying to understand Malayalam, it can be extremely difficult understanding what someone is trying to say or what they're trying to basically translate. And of course, for any language, it's always great to learn the script. However, we have to acknowledge that people don't need to sit and learn all of the alphabets before they start speaking and communicating with the language. So there should be some way to convey meaning until someone's able to read and understand the alphabet. So I agree with making language accessible, but also making sure that it's accurate. And so using this transcription will help my materials be more accessible. So to go back, using ISO instead of using Manglish will make it much more clearer. This is Panchasara, this is Are, this is Arne, this is Kuti, this is Pali, this is Panni. We know this because we have the transcription. Now, when using ISO, it is a valid reaction to feel like, oh, there's a lot of symbols here, this is a bit confusing. Absolutely. But what these symbols mean, these diacritics, is they're telling us where the sound is made or how the sound is made. So I've put a few of the common ones here on this slide for reference. So for the first one, we have nya. This tilde is a nasal sound. You'll see it in Spanish, like año. So nya. And then the other one is la, la, like in the English singing. It's made in the throat, la. Then here to the right, we have ta and ka. This dot underneath the T means that it's retroflex. Ta, ta. Then we have the versus the u. Okay, is a clipped sound, a schwa sound, while oo is a long sound. That's what this diacritic means, it's a long sound. The sha means that it's fricative, it's creating friction here. Sha, sha. And sha we know is retroflex because just like ra, it has that dot underneath, sha. So we have a retroflex ra, we have a retroflex ra, and a trill ra. Okay, so ra, ra, ra. It's not necessary that you need to know all these linguistic terms, but I'm just using this page to show you that each of these diacritics have a meaning. It's not necessary to be a linguist to be able to understand these, and that's why I've broken it down so that you can see why they exist and why they're there. That way they're not as intimidating or as foreign to you when you're trying to use them. And once you get used to using them, you'll know that, okay, since the dot is below, this is a retroflex sound, or so on and so forth. So I'm going to go through all the aksharangal with you today and show you what it looks like in Malayalam and what it looks like in the ISO transliteration. The first part we have is the vowels, and these are in 3 columns. We have the vowel when it's by itself, the vowel when it's attached to something, and then, of course, the transcription. Notice the long vowels are pointed out in yellow. So from the top on the left, we have a, I, u, r, e, I, o, ow, a. Alright, so we have that for the vowels. So we're going to move on to the consonants. And something that's really neat about Malayalam and a lot of Indian languages is that the way the alphabet is arranged actually coincides with the way that sounds are made in the mouth. So listen, and when you repeat this, feel where it's made in the mouth. So here we have ka, ka, ga, ka, nga. Cha, cha, ja, cha, nya. All right. Notice the unaspirated words have just the consonant and the vowel, and the aspirated have the additional ha. Okay? Ka, ka, ga, ka, nga. Cha, cha, ja, cha, nya. Remember that nya is the nasal nya, like in Spanish. Next, look at this and see the difference. These 2 sets of consonants are often confused with learners because when typing it in Manglish, you're always going to see D for everything. And it's really confusing because yes, these T sounds often become D sounds in the middle of the word, but when it comes to pronunciation and spelling, we're not sure which alphabet it is. So here the transcription not only shows the T versus D, but it also shows the aspirated versus non-aspirated, and it shows the retroflex versus non-retroflex. So the first row are all retroflex sounds. Ta, ta, da, ta, na. And the rest are dental. Ta, ta, da, ta, na. Isn't that cool? So next we have pa, pa, ba, pa, ma. Ya, ra, la, va. Nothing to note here. This is pretty standard. Just remember, with the aspiration comes the H. And then lastly, for the consonants, we have sha, sha, sa, ha, ra, ra, ra. So again, fricative, sha, retrofricative, sha, sa, ha, and then retroflex, ra, ra, trill, ra. Finally, I have the chandrakala. Chandrakala is with a u. It's a clipped sound, enikya, en, like this, And then the chilus, which are the final stop consonants with no vowels. R, l, And that is all of the aksharangal with the ISO. And at the end here you can see, earlier I wrote Namaskaram Nyan Eliza Arne, and underneath it is how it looks in ISO. Namaskaram Nyan Eliza Arne. We can clearly see the a is a long a. The nya is a nasal sound with a long a. And arne is a long a and a retroflex and a clipped e. So it's not anu, it's arne. It makes a big difference. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been useful for you and I hope you've learned something new. If you're wondering, how can I type using this? The tool that I use right now is through KaiPad. It is run by Project Pacha, done by Malayalam Mori. He's done a lot of great work. It's still in its beta phase, but it's extremely useful, and he can definitely get some feedback if there's any tweaks. But you basically paste or type whatever you want in Malayalam and it spits out an ISO translation, and it's fantastic, and it's what I use for making all my content. If you have any other questions, doubts, concerns, put it in the comments below and I'll be happy to help you with that. And I'll see you again in the next time. Apoela, paranudapole.